Imagine a nation in which 98% of students graduate with a high school diploma, attending some of Asia's top universities at rates 40% higher than here in the US. Students begin studying years in advance, with some beginning as early as middle school. And after spending the majority of their lives studying, they consistently score highly on their standardized tests, up to 2 times the global average. It's hard to think that this nation, born out of a war-torn past, had literacy rates of under 22% only 60 years ago. Yet South Korea has remarkably emerged as one of the leaders in education globally, often acclaimed for its financial and social might. Like all other young Korean children, I was raised under the system, taught by my parents to value education as if it were the one and only key to a successful future. Having been one of the first few generations born after the Korean War, my parents were self-made students. My father was the first to study abroad in the United States, and my mother was the first in her family to leave her home city of Busan for one of Seoul's top universities. So, naturally, I grew up constantly trying to reach above. I spent my school years cramming in as many subjects as I could, as fast as I could. I spent my afternoons in private tutoring sessions where I would try to learn subjects all years ahead of my skill level. I remember one time, my math teacher tried to get a room full of middle schoolers to understand how derivatives worked. Nevertheless, I don't think any of us left any smarter that night. Education has been ingrained into South Korea to its core. Walking down the streets of Seoul's academic hotspots, Gangnam and Apgujeong, it's easy to see education's place in society. Advertisements for tutors and private classes plaster every feasible surface as students walk down its streets into the early morning hours. It's simple to blanket all of Korea's academic institutions as an ideal. They provide solutions to issues currently facing us here in the US, such as teachers' wages and increases in college dropout rates. Yet, under all this success lies a grim reality, one that's been suppressed through years of social stigmas and a dynamic that encourages maintaining the norm. South Korea, along with having one of the most successful education systems in the world, also ranks among the highest in stress, depression, and suicide. Adolescents consist of one of the largest of these demographics. With an average of 39.5 student suicides daily, South Korea ranks highly above the US's average of 16.9. Korea's multifaceted approach to education brings a dilemma to the international community. What truly defines academic success? In the center of Korea's academic might is its private tutoring system, commonly referred to as hagwons. Beyond their already arduous schedules, in which students may spend up to 12 hours in school, these students spend an additional 4 to 5 hours in additional classes. These hagwons cover virtually any school subject, math, English, art, all years ahead of the standard curriculum in order to give students an extra push. And these classes don't come for cheap. Parents spend thousands of dollars a year, often throughout their child's entire school career. But the problem with these classes go beyond simple finances. Parents are convinced that these classes are the only way for their children to reach success in life, often incentivized by exaggerated advertising and the highly critical society Korea has emerged to become. They're pushed to believe that all of it is worth it. The incomprehensible amounts of money, the constant workload, and the mental toll taken on their students. Even worse is the constant competition. Students are pressured into outperforming their competition, often correlating directly to more and more hours spent in the classroom. It creates a vicious cycle in which students give up everything their weekends, their sleep schedules, their social lives, all of which have been proven to be essential in a child's mental and physical growth and development for additional hours in the classroom. Growing up, the Hagwon system was part of daily life. I would spend the typical 8 to 3 school day in classes, and my afternoons taking practice math tests and discussing the most recent assignment of To Kill a Mockingbird. I would spend my weekends in private music lessons and making art portfolios. Yet, even with the constant workload, it always felt like I could do more, reach further. All of these efforts, the constant homework assignments, classes, and private tutoring, are all in preparation for the Sunung, Korea's college entrance exam. The test has gained a reputation globally for its notoriously difficult tests, lasting anywhere from 5 to 6 hours, and spanning subjects as diverse as subjective maths to foreign language skills. However, its English analysis section in particular has gained a reputation for its long-winded and convoluted prompts. Questions already pose a disadvantage to students, often being extracted from college-level research papers on obscure topics, confusing and unconventional vocabulary litter paragraphs. And on top of it all, students are given less than a minute for each question. In recent years, the test has sparked controversy in the international community, with its questions often being too difficult or even downright impossible, even for native English speakers. Here's one from last year's exam. I'll give you guys a minute to look through it. All set? If you answered 2, congratulations. If you didn't, don't worry too much about it. Koreans all over the nation are in the same boat as you. The Sunung's weight in Korean society becomes clear in the days leading up to the test, referred to fittingly as D-Day. Parents flood temples in the preceding months, participating in prayers for their children. The nation falls silent on the day of the exam. Planes cease departures and arrivals, offices close down, and military drills come to a halt as students take their English listening tests. Outside, anxious peers, parents, and teachers await the good news. Since its official implementation in 1994, the Sunung has become a central topic in Korean social and economic spheres. It is the primary factor in the college application process, unlike the holistic approach the vast majority of schools here in the US follow. This is no different for Korea's Ivy League. Seoul National University, Korea University, and Yonsei University, referred to collectively as SKY. An admission into these universities requires a near-perfect Sunung score. A ranking within the 98th percentile is required to even be considered by these schools, calculating to about 5 incorrect answers out of over 150. It is widely believed that an acceptance into these schools can determine one's success in life. A student's academic experiences are common questions in job interviews. Good backgrounds have been shown to directly correlate to longer and more successful tenures in an individual's career. It's seen as a high social status symbol, one that exemplifies the ideal citizen and a model citizen. It can even determine one's marital future, as graduates are often pressured into marrying their colleagues. Their whole lives, down to their financial and social status, are at stake. A single point on the single test determines the fine line between a successful career and unemployment. So, unsurprisingly, students spend their entire lives stressing, pressured by their peers, families, and society as a whole. Korea's ambivalent approach to education begs the question, is such a system truly worth its high academic caliber? On one hand, its academic statistics, college matriculation levels, test scores, and high school diploma rates all present the Korean morale as just as efficient, if not more, to other systems throughout the world. Furthermore, its unholistic approach to college admissions, placing weight on standardized tests above subjective merits, promote a fair and just application process. South Korea, in part due to its academic institutions, has been able to rebuild itself from a developing nation, burdened by a fractured people and the tribulations of the Cold War, into one of the global frontrunners in technology, science, and entertainment. On the surface, Korea's education system seems flawless, and it's no surprise that the nation has received a reputation globally for its highly successful academic skills. It provides solutions to problems facing us here in the US, increases in high school dropout rates, biases in college admissions, and an overall increasing difficulty in defining the ideal student. Yet, South Korea has failed in addressing its Achilles heel, the student. Through its highly demanding workload and lack of extracurricular weight, Korean students find an immense pressure being burdened on them. Alarmingly high rates of stress, depression, and suicide among younger demographics has been attributed directly to the highly critical society and highly demanding education system. The nation's mechanical approach, designing a singular curriculum, engineering a singular mold for their students to fit into, and then testing them all on a singular test to determine their worth, has fallen flat in determining the nuances of an individual. And those who are unable to keep up with its pace are brought down to the bottom rungs of society. South Korea presents a culture unique to the international community, beyond its academic might. We see an overall aspiration to become the norm, rather than the individualistic approach many of us take here in the United States. This homogeneity, formed over centuries of notions of idealism and piety, is seen extensively in society, whether it be in beauty standards, internet trends, or career paths. Korea's narrow focus has allowed for such an education system to develop. We can see that it is not the academic institutions themselves that truly defines if a system will be effective. Rather, it is the education system's compatibility with the culture's nuances that truly defines success. We see a wide array of education systems throughout the world lead to similar levels of efficiency as Korea's. And through a simple change in perspective, we see the failures in these successful systems. The Korean education system is far from perfect, just like that of any other nation. It provides a series of double-edged swords that address the nation's most pressing issues, the fear of failure and not being able to conform to the norm. It's wrong to say that such system is inherently successful, or even to suggest that other nations should follow suit. Such a system here in the US would undoubtedly fail, resulting only in an inability to express individuality and an even more competitive college application process. The American morale is one that celebrates its diverse pool of students and their individual capacities. And it is our responsibility as students, teachers, and educators to define this as our success story. Thank you.
Yeah, more.